Yo, Amateur Lore here. So if you've been to this channel before, you know I make videos all the time about teams you forgot almost made the college football playoffs. So today I decided to do something kind of similar but different at the same time. Today we're going to be looking at teams you forgot almost made the BCS National Championship game. I'm obviously not going to be able to cover them all, so if you think I'm missing any teams, be sure to comment them down below. But yeah, these videos do take a while to make, so a like and a sub would be appreciated. But with all that out the way, let's hop right into the video. Okay, so for the first team in this video I'm sure you forgot almost made it to the national championship game is the 2011 Arkansas Razorbacks. I don't know about you, but I was extremely shocked when looking into this team. Not by the fact that the Razorbacks had a team competing for a natty. I sort of knew that somewhere in the early 2010s the Hogs had a pretty elite season, but what really shocked me was that this 2011 squad didn't have Felix Jones or Darren McFadden on it. Maybe I'm just uninformed, but whenever I think of the golden years of Razorbacks football from the late 2000s and the early 2010s, I think of those Wild Hogs teams and the teams led by the late Ryan Mallett at quarterback. But like I already said, this 2011 squad had none of those players, but somehow would pull off the best season in the last 20 plus years for Arkansas. With that being said, let's jump right into the magical season the 2011 Hogs had. Coming into the year, the Razorbacks had some heavy expectations. I would say the most since the days of Lou Holtz coaching for the Hogs. As the year before in 2010, the Razorbacks had finished 10-3, ending the season with a tough loss in the All-State Sugar Bowl to the 6th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. And in the 2011 SEC preseason predictions, the experts had the 14th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks finishing 3rd in the SEC West, behind 4th ranked LSU and 2nd ranked Alabama. That was a short little intro. Now let's take a look at some of the key figures a part of this 2011 Razorback squad. Leading the team at head coach in his 3rd year up to that point was a man who is as loyal to his team as he is to his wife, Bobby Petrino. And the man trusted to replace the Arkansas legend Ryan Mallett at quarterback, rest in peace, was Tyler Wilson, who would throw for over 3,600 yards with 24 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. As for the running back room, there wasn't one workhorse back, as 3 backs would get burned. Them being Dennis Johnson, who would rush for 670 yards with 5 total touchdowns, Ronnie Wingo Jr., who would rush for 458 yards with 5 total touchdowns, and finally to round out the three-headed monster, Broderick Green, who would rush for 206 yards with 6 total touchdowns. Leading the receiving corps was the stud Jarius Wright, who would finish the season with 1,117 receiving yards with 12 touchdowns. Alright, to start the 2011 season, the 14th ranked Razorbacks would open up with 3 straight cupcake games, and they would honestly need them because after this little stretch, conference play would begin, and I'm going to spoil it now, it wouldn't be easy. But back to the first 3 games of the season for the Hogs. They would easily win them all, winning 51-7 against Missouri State, 52-3 against New Mexico, and finally to end this stretch, a 38-28 win against Troy. And I know the score against Troy seems close, but the Razorbacks were never really in trouble during this game. Now sitting at 3-0 and still currently ranked 14th in the country, the Hogs were going on their first real tough stretch of the season. To be more specific, a 3-game stretch of SEC action against the 3rd ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, 14th ranked Texas A&M, and to end the stretch, a home game versus the 15th ranked Auburn Tigers. This tough stretch of ball would be incredibly difficult for the Razorbacks to navigate through. Could they survive?
Penalty here is no big deal for Alabama.
On 4th and 4, McCarron, he's got a man wide open. He's got it caught at the 10. It's Michael Williams. The opening pass, not perfect.
Whoa, gashed him.
Up the middle.
Gashed him.
Touchdown, Arkansas.
Good.
Mays gathers it in at the 17, and he's got some room. Gets a block. Breeding's got to stop him. Breeding doesn't. Now there's still a chance defensively. Look at Mays. Now he's at the 10. Cuts back. Brilliant run. Davis, their wonderful running back, out for the year. Look at Wilson.
Man.
Wow.
That might be a touchdown. It is.
It is. And goal. Lacey. Touchdown.
Arkansas going empty. A&M rushing 4. And Wilson going deep right is wide open. Touchdown, Arkansas! He's in there to block for 250-pound tailback Broderick Green. And Green will walk in. Good block. Wilson steps up, dumps it off to Wingo, is wide open inside the 5. Touchdown, Arkansas!
Placing the defense line of A&M.
Wilson. It's complete to Hamilton inside the 10-yard line. He lost the ball, rolling around on the goal line, and Arkansas's got it. Arkansas, it appeared, had it, which would be a touchdown. It's a touchdown, Jerry. They will. Here's Green. Touchdown, Arkansas.
There's a look to the sideline, and he's going to keep it himself. Frazier to the end zone. Touchdown, Auburn. Now starting to get back on track. And now to the end zone. Touchdown, Jarius Wright. Wilson, here comes pressure. Throws to Dennis Green. Green with a convoy. Heading to the corner. Touchdown.
While the Razorbacks wouldn't win every game during this stretch, they would win more than they lost. Starting the stretch, the Hogs would get blown out by Alabama 38-14. The Hogs were in the game early, but once the second quarter hit, Alabama would turn things up and put the game out of reach. Tough loss, but the Hogs would bounce back the following week against the Aggies to win 42-38. In a game, I'm not going to lie, the Aggies were up pretty big at halftime, but the Hogs would fight back to take the lead late and win the game. And finally, to end this stretch, Arkansas would win pretty convincingly against the Auburn Tigers 38-14. Now sitting at 5-1 and ranked 9th in the latest polls, the Hogs had their eyes set on a top 10 matchup that was a couple of weeks away against the South Carolina Cox. But before that huge game that would have massive BCS bowl game and natty implications, the Razorbacks had to take care of business against the 2-4 Ole Miss Rebels and the 4-3 Vanderbilt Commodores. Arkansas must have been looking ahead to their matchup against the Cox, because against Ole Miss, the Hogs would win a close one, 29-24, fending off the Rebels' late comeback attempt to leave Oxford alive. And against the Commodores, it was pretty much the same story, as they would beat Vanderbilt 31-28 in a game that was tied going all the way into the fourth quarter, but fortunately the Hogs would survive. The Arkansas Razorbacks were now sitting at 7-1 and currently ranked 7th in the nation, and coming up on their biggest game of the season up to that point against the 9th ranked Cox. A win here would have Arkansas looking really good and put them in a legit position to make a run for the natty. But obviously on the other side of the coin, the Cox were thinking the same thing, as they had only lost one game so far this year, and on paper this South Carolina team had a really good chance of shaking the college football world up if they could win out, which was a real possibility. That should paint a picture of how huge this SEC game was. Could Arkansas keep their natty chances alive and pull out the dub, or would the Cox get the best of them?
Keontae Minor is there with him. So two teams that have only one loss each, and thinking big things. To single cover. They'll toss it the other way to Wilds, heading to the cone, and he got there. Kick is going to go to Johnson at the 2-yard line. Dennis Johnson, one of the best in the country. Here he goes, and there he goes. Dennis Johnson, foot race, he'll win it. Touchdown, Arkansas. They fake it though on 3rd and short and want to throw it. Wilson dancing around, lobs it, it's intercepted. This is South Carolina going the other way. Quarles. Wilson reloads and goes long. Man there, got it. Jarius Wright, and he's gone. Wright, touchdown. Wilson to the end zone, touchdown, Jarius. Shaw, quarterback draw all the way, and he is in. Touchdown, South Carolina, and 3. And now he'll keep it again, and he might score again. He's in right now. It's Shaw, quarterback keeper. He's in. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Mention Holloman out of the game. Antonio Allen out of the game.
Wilson out to throw us an opportunity here on 2nd and goal. Wingo is in. Touchdown for the Gamecocks. Here comes Beckett. Down goes Shaw. The ball is out. Arkansas's got it at the 1-foot line.
Arkansas would come out on top in an absolute banger of a game that ended 44-28. And while the game was really close, the Hogs were really in control the whole time. Major shout out to the Razorbacks defense, as they held South Carolina to 207 total yards and would force 4 turnovers. If you ask me, the whole entire defense was the MVP of this game. After the humongous win against the Cox, not much would change in the rankings for the Hogs, as they wouldn't move much in the polls. But the win was still big regardless and gave the Hogs much needed momentum going into their next game against Tennessee. The Vols wouldn't be much of a matchup for the Razorbacks, as they would get blown out 49-7. And the same could be said for their next opponent, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, as they would meet a pretty similar fate to Tennessee, getting blown out 44-17. Arkansas was now sitting at 10-1 and currently ranked as the 3rd best team in the entire country. The Hogs were heading into a matchup against the number 1 ranked LSU Tigers in their final regular season game of the year. A win here and the Hogs would be almost guaranteed a lock to make the natty. Could the Razorbacks travel to Death Valley and pull off one of the biggest wins in program history?
In a swamp, normally quiet and serene. But on this day, there looms a palpable tension as the top-ranked Tigers of LSU host the 3rd-ranked Razorbacks of Arkansas, a rivalry whose recent history has jarred fans from their Thanksgiving slumber.
Jones throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Arkansas! Unbelievable!
McFadden. Say goodbye! 80 yards, touchdown!
Holiday. And he sprints it to the outside, and he may go. Do you believe this? Touchdown! 92 yards.
Flynn, shotgun formation into the end zone. The pass is intercepted. The Razorbacks have beaten the number 1 team in the country.
He's going for it all. He's got a receiver in the end zone. It is caught by Arkansas.
Mallett
Goes up top, got man coverage. Adams on the button. Touchdown, Razorbacks.
And never have the stakes been higher. But on this day, the most pressing question of all is, will the West be won? Backs, no score in the game. Here's Wilson back. Across the middle, has a man, and he has a touchdown. 1 second down. Here's Ford. Fumble! Picked off in midair. And here we go down the sideline. Alonzo Highsmith. And goal. They'll try it again. Here's Hilliard. Touchdown. Really effective punts inside the 10-yard line. And here's Matthew back, and another effective one. Matthew breaks a tackle. Breaks another. Gets a block. There are no flags, and the race is on. And Matthew goes. 1:04 to go. Inside. Russell. Looks back. Spencer Ware is the running back.
They're going to run the ball. They're not going to risk a pass.
And Ware keeps churning. Jefferson.
It's over.
Touchdown, Jefferson and L.
Sadly, the Razorbacks were just outmatched, as they would lose the game 41-17. What's crazy to me is that this game had all the makings for a huge upset, as the Razorbacks would go up 14-0 early in the second quarter after recovering a fumble for a touchdown. But after that, LSU would put the clamps on the Hogs, only allowing 3 points for the rest of the game. I really would have liked to see Arkansas pull off this upset, because we're going to do some college football hypothetical talk right here. But remember, during this time, I believe Alabama was sitting at the second spot or hovering around there. So if Arkansas would have won, there would have been a 3-way tie for the SEC West. I'm not sure how the tiebreaker would have handled themselves, but one thing I do know is that the Razorbacks would have either been ranked number 1 or number 2. And if they did win the SEC West and have to play in the SEC Championship game, they would have been matched up against Georgia, who I think they had a decent shot of winning. Or if they somehow didn't win the tiebreaker, then they would have most likely have faced Bama in the Natty that year instead of LSU somewhat, following the same path the 2011 Alabama Crimson Tide follow. But that's just amateur lore's college football fan fiction. In reality, the Hogs would have to settle for the next best thing, a matchup against the 8th ranked Kansas State Wildcats in the Cotton Bowl, which they would win 29-16, finishing their 2011 season with an 11-2 record. When you're so close to a Natty berth, I think everything else could be considered falling just short, but it was still an amazing season for the Razorbacks, and one that if a couple things went just a little bit different, they could have been playing in the BCS National Championship game. Okay, so from the SEC, we travel up north to the Big Ten, and the state shaped like a mitten, to talk about another team I'm pretty sure you forgot almost made the BCS National Championship game, the 2013 Michigan State Spartans. No cap, this is random, but when I was growing up in the late 2000s and early 2010s, my favorite team from the Big Ten that I always wanted to see do well was Michigan State. There really wasn't no reason to why that was. I wish I could say there was, like, oh, I liked Kirk Cousins or Le'Veon Bell, but most likely it was because my favorite color was green. Really not much more to that story. Anyway, this 2013 Michigan State Spartan squad was expected to compete for a decent bowl game and maybe win like 7 to 8 games, as in the Big Ten Legend Division preseason predictions, most outlets had the Spartans finishing behind teams such as Michigan, Nebraska, and Northwestern. Man, college football in 2013 was wild. But yeah, it was clear this Michigan State squad was predicted to be decent, but not to make too many waves this year according to the experts, which makes this amazing year from Sparty so much more impressive. So let's take a look at some of the key figures. Leading the team at head coach in his 6th year up to that point was Mark D'Antonio, and Spartan fans, let me know down below if he's the best coach in program history. I'm curious to hear what y'all have to say. Moving over to the most important position in sports, quarterback, the man trusted to run the offense was, I'm going to call him a Michigan State legend because all he did was win when he went to school here, but the legend Connor Cook, who would pass for over 2,700 yards with 22 touchdowns. Moving over to what I'd say the focal point of this offense was the running game. Leading the team in rushing was Jeremy Langford, who would have a monster season, running for over 1,400 yards and punching it into the end zone 19 total times. And to round out the offense, leading the team in receiving with 622 yards and 6 touchdowns was Benny Fowler. Also, before we move on, major shout out to the entire Michigan State defense, as this year they only allowed 13.2 points per game, which was best for 3rd in the entire nation. Alright, so to open the season, the Spartans would have 3 pretty easy games to tune up and work on things before their first big matchup of the season on the road at Notre Dame. Those easy matchups were against Western Michigan, South Florida, and Youngstown State. Well, those games were supposed to be easy, but in the first 2, Michigan State would struggle to generate offense. But since their defense was so elite, they would manage to pull out the wins, winning 26-13 against Western Michigan and 21-6 against South Florida. The last game on this little stretch would be easier for the Spartans, as they would blow out Youngstown State 55-17. Old Sparty was now sitting at 3-0, going into their first tough game of the season on the road at the 22nd ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, one of the toughest places to play in the entire country. Could Michigan State win in for the touchdown, Jesus?
All man to man. Brook takes the snap, looks to the end zone, touchdown. Reese back in the end zone, and T.J. Jones grabs it for his first catch of the game. was the underdog as the season started. We got a pass here from R.J. Shelton down the field, and it's picked off by Matthias Farley. And Farley with a... And they give it to McDaniel around the right side for a touchdown. As McDaniel goes up the middle, pulls his way for a good game. Look at him move the pile past the first down marker.
Old Sparty would fight hard and keep the game close, but Notre Dame would be just too much for Michigan State to handle, as they would fall to the 22nd ranked Fighting Irish 17-13. It was a tough loss, but there was definitely a lot of positives to take from this game and build upon it, and that's exactly what the Spartans would do, as the following week on the road at Iowa, the Spartans would find themselves in another defensive battle, and unlike against Notre Dame, Michigan State would hold on for the win, beating the Hawkeyes 26-14. Now sitting at 4-1, the Spartans would host the Indiana Hoosiers and handle them pretty easily, winning by 2 scores, 42-28. Shout out to the Spartans running back Jeremy Langford, as he would punch it into the end zone 3 times against Indiana. Still unranked and sitting at 6-1, Michigan State was about to embark on one of their more tougher stretches of conference play. A 4-game stretch against Big Ten foes Purdue, Illinois, 21st ranked Michigan, and finally to end the stretch, a road game versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The voters over at the AP poll were disrespecting the Spartans every single week, it seemed like, as Michigan State should have been ranked by now, but sometimes you just gotta force them to put you into the top 25, and Michigan State could do just that if they could dominate during this stretch.
In the backfield, they fake it to him. Etling, tons of time, wants the deep ball into the end zone. Intercepted. Spartans bring pressure. Oh, and they get to Etling. Ball's loose. It's going to be a touchdown to Nichols Allen. Scores!
Extend this to a 14-point lead. That'll be tough for Purdue to overcome.
This is going to be a wide-out pass. Wide open back to the end zone. Touchdown.
Langford again. This time he'll easily get into the end zone for the Spartan touchdown. Stopping. 15th play of the drive. Cook in trouble again. He has to get to the sideline and get out of bounds. Instead, he throws it down the sideline, tipped around for a touchdown.
Job security.
Delton Williams gets a turn, and he adds to the rushing totals for Michigan State. A stiff arm and a touchdown. Wow. They don't take a timeout. They do take a snap. Pump fake. Go into the corner of the end zone. Fowler got it. Touchdown. Not giving up a touchdown. Trying not to give up one here. 2nd and 15. Throw is intercepted. They won't give up one there either. Darquez. Langford taking it to the corner. He's got the first down and a whole bunch more. Cuts back inside the 20. He's gone. Touchdown. Both.
Spartans get to the line quickly. Langford powers to the end zone. Touchdown. Bella's just 19 yards receiving. Still doesn't look like he's running as well as he usually does. They're lofting it up for him, and he has it. Touchdown. That quote for the first time at that same banquet that we talked about at the end of last year when he talked about how their season was a matter of inches. Here's Langford. Touchdown, Michigan State.
Michigan State would go 4-0 through this tough stretch of conference games, winning against Purdue 14-0 in a matchup that the Spartans' defense would dominate. While the Sparty offense was a no-show against Purdue, they would more than make up for their lackluster performance, bouncing back with a 42-3 rout against Illinois. Things were rolling and would keep rolling as Michigan State would beat their biggest rivals, 21st ranked Michigan 29-6, and finally to end this stretch, Old Sparty would win 41-28 against Nebraska in a shootout. Michigan State was now sitting at 9-1 and currently ranked as the 13th best team in the country. The Spartans had their eyes set on winning out so they could clinch their side of the Big Ten up, but 2 teams stood in Michigan State's way: Northwestern and Minnesota. Against Northwestern, Michigan State would easily win as they would defeat the Wildcats 30-6. The same couldn't be said for their final game of the regular season versus the Gophers, as the final score would be 14-3. Definitely not an impressive win to end the season, but a win is a win. Michigan State was now sitting at 12-1 and currently ranked 10th in the country. While the Natty was a long shot, it was still definitely a possibility for Michigan State, as their final matchup of the season before bowl game started was against the 2nd-ranked 12-1 Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten Championship game. Could Sparty shock the world by pulling off a huge upset in the Big Ten Championship game and making it tough for the BCS voters to keep them out of the Natty?
Indianapolis, Indiana, Lucas Oil Stadium is the place to be, because tonight the Ohio State Buckeyes need one more win to head to the national championship, but it won't be easy against the Michigan State Spartans. Cook. And Cook looking. Mumfrey down the sideline. Sparty's got 6. 72 yards. Down to the Ohio State 33. Cook dropping back deep. He'll take that shot. Flip it. Touchdown. Miller drops back. Throws in the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. Central check down to Devin Smith. Now Miller running wide, turns a corner with a blocker. Then throwing it. Second down and 2. Braxton Miller. Clean snap, good hold. It's up. Does it have enough? Yes, it does. Not that good back on the field for Ohio State. Here's Cook. He'll off one. Nice throw. And it's caught. Kings drops it back. Flag on the play. Kings down at the Ohio State 20. Here's Cook. Play fake. Cook with time. Wide open. Touchdown Spartans. Josiah Price. 4th down. Here's Braxton Miller. And he won't get it. What a play. Lippett in motion. They'll give it straight ahead. Langford. Still running. Touchdown Spartans. Formation. Connor Cook takes a knee, and that will do it. The Michigan State Spartans defeat Ohio State 34-24, snapping the Buckeyes' 24-game winning streak, ending their home.
The Rose Bowl. Plenty more from Indy after this.
Michigan State would put together their best performance of the season as they would beat the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten Championship game 34-24. Major shout out to Connor Cook as he absolutely showed out this game, dotting up the Ohio State defense for 304 yards with 3 tuds. You know what's crazy about this performance from Cook? He chose the biggest game of the year for him to have his best game of the season. His 304 yards against the Buckeyes was easily his season high. Also, I have to shout out the Spartans running back Jeremy Langford as he put in major work on the ground, rushing for 128 yards with a touchdown. Michigan State was now sitting at 12-1, coming up their humongous Big Ten Championship game win. This huge win would catapult Michigan State all the way from the 10th spot in the country all the way to the 3rd ranked team in the nation. If I'm being honest, I feel like any other year Michigan State would have been more likely to make the Natty, but because specifically this year we had the crazy Auburn team who beat Alabama in the last game of the season with the kick 6, plus on top of that you had the legendary 2013 FSU squad led by Jameis Winston, Michigan State kind of got the short end of the stick. Like I said, any other year they're probably in the discussion for the Natty, but because this season was packed with so many 11-win teams, Michigan State just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But while the Spartans wouldn't get a shot at the Natty, they get the next best thing in my opinion, a chance to represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl against the 5th-ranked Stanford Cardinal. The matchup versus Stanford would be a close game that would go back and forth until the 4th quarter when Michigan State would finally pull away late, winning the game and the Rose Bowl 24-20, ending Michigan State's 2013 season with a 13-1 record, their best record since the year 1966. From Michigan, we traveled down to the Swamp to talk about my favorite college football team, the Florida Gators. More specifically, their 2012 squad. A team that I'm pretty sure you forgot almost made the BCS National Championship game. Hey, chill out. I see you back there rolling your eyes. Let me have this. Our whole team is injured this year. Our coach is the Mr. Crocker of college football. Just let me have this, please. Anyway, let's get right into this Gator squad. Coming into 2012, Florida was predicted to finish 8th in the SEC overall, behind teams such as LSU, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Arkansas, and Auburn. I think it was safe to assume that the so-called SEC experts were not so high on this Gator team, but it's a good thing these so-called experts have no idea what they're talking about. That was the expectation from the outside, so let's go to the Swamp and take a look at some of the key cogs a part of this Florida Gator engine. At head coach in his 2nd year up to that point, we have the offensive guru, Will Muschamp. Gator fans, let me know down below how you feel about old Muschamp. South Carolina fans, you too. The man he trusted to run his complex of offensive scheme was Jeff Driscoll, who would have a monster year, throwing for just over 1,600 yards with 12 touchdowns. Just about your average season from a Florida Gator quarterback, if you ask me. Transitioning to the running back position, the team lead in rushing was Mike Gillislee, who would rush for 1,152 yards with 10 touchdowns. And leading the team in receiving was Jordan Reed, who would finish with 559 yards with 3 touchdowns. Major shout out to this Gator defense, as this might have been one of their best defenses ever, as they would only allow 14.5 points per game, which was best for 5th in the nation. Okay, so to start the 2012 season, Florida was ranked 23rd in the country and would match up against Bowling Green in a tune-up game. Well, it should have been a tune-up game, but Florida would only be leading by 3 points going into the 4th quarter, where they would finally pull away, winning the game 27-14. Not the best overall performance from the Florida Gators, but a win is a win. 1-0, Florida was already starting SEC play, as their next matchups would be against some pretty good SEC squads, them being the Texas A&M Aggies led by the freshman phenom Johnny Manziel, and a game versus the 23rd ranked Tennessee Volunteers. These 2 games would be a really good way to judge how this season for Florida would go. Could Florida make a statement?
They put him back, and they show shotgun and then hand it off. Touchdown! Quarterback draw. Field opens. 5. Touchdown, Aggie! Wildcat formation. Michael takes a snap and slips into the end zone, waiting for the signal. Touchdown! 2nd and 5. Fake the inside handoff. Goes down the right side. Complete and out of bounds. A beautiful... They toss to him. Got a hole. Now he has to jump outside because of Porter, and he still makes the first down, tiptoes down toward the end zone. Touchdown is the call. Has to avoid the big mistake here. Hunt and hope he can get it back. Shakes free. Now.
And he will take off to the left after the motion went to the right, and he's going to cruise into the end zone. Play fake, Bray to the end zone. Touchdown. Behind Driscoll. Dunbar in motion. Driscoll in trouble. Going to throw to the corner. Got him. Touchdown. Jordan Reed, what a throw. They're going to bring a blitz off the corner at Driscoll. He got rid of it, and it's complete, and it's a big gainer, and it might be Hammond taking it all the way. Craggy Hammond. Touchdown.
Florida would play some good ball during this little 2-game stretch as they would win a close one against the Aggies 20-17. Major shout out to the Florida defense. I remember watching this game live thinking this Johnny Manziel dude is a real problem. But our defense was somehow able to contain the future Heisman winner as much as you could possibly do. Because let's be honest, there really isn't any stopping Johnny football. After the dub versus the Aggies, the Gators would follow that up with a pretty good win against the Tennessee Volunteers 37-20. Now sitting at 3-0, Florida would jump all the way to the 4th spot in the country. The Gators were rolling and would continue rolling as in their next matchup versus the Kentucky Wildcats, the Gators would put together their best performance of the season up to that point as they would dominate Kentucky 38-0. Major shout out to the elite Gators defense as they would pick off the Wildcats quarterback 3 times. After the win against Kentucky, Florida would move to 4-0 and would move up in the polls to the 10th spot in the country. Things were going great in the swamp, but Florida was set to be tested soon. More specifically, their next matchup against the 4th-ranked LSU Tigers. This matchup would be huge, and low-key, Florida and LSU fans, y'all let me know down in the comments what you think about this rivalry. I'm a big fan of it. I think it produces some of the best matchups every year. Anyway, this matchup was huge and would be your classic battle between 2 elite SEC schools. Could Florida take down the 4th-ranked Tigers in the swamp?
Will kick off. That's Michael Ford, number 42, the deep man. You're looking at Luchez Purifoy, one of the special team members, and Jarvis Landry is also. Here's Mettenberger, a lot of time across the middle, caught. Spencer Ware out of the backfield. Mettenberger right flat, caught. Copeland out of the backfield. Line for the year, and this one looks perfect. Different. Here's Driscoll again. Pressure again. This is Andrew, the Tiger football entourage, spent last night. Good block in the backfield. Intercepted. Picked off by Jalen Watkins. Yes. Driscoll, left side. Frankie Hammond is picked up. And in the transition. Gators still have 3 timeouts left. And there's a fumble. Ball's out. Still loose.
I think Benny Logan was the first guy there.
Yard effort. Wing puts it down. And Alamance, Texas, first down and 10. This time it's Gillisley. Up the middle, in for the score. By LSU. Run blitz. Gillisley. Touchdown, Florida. There's the lateral. Landry. Matt Elam appropriately in the middle of it all.
In a straight-up defensive struggle, Florida would come out on top of the LSU Tigers 14-16. Man, this game is one of those games that makes me miss when Florida was known for being an elite defensive school. And of course, I have to shout out the Gators defense for this huge win, as they would only allow LSU 200 total yards and 8 first downs with 3 turnovers. This win versus the 4th-ranked Tigers was huge and would catapult the Gators all the way up to the 5th spot in the latest polls. Now sitting at 5-0, Florida had a game versus Vanderbilt coming up, but the Gators, to be honest, were definitely looking ahead to their matchup they played after the Commodores against the 7th-ranked South Carolina Cox. But before that, Florida would have to take care of Vandy on the road. The matchup versus Vandy, if I'm going to be honest, from a Gators fan's perspective, was disappointing because going into the 4th quarter, the Gators would only lead by a touchdown. You would expect the 4th-ranked team in the country to dominate the Vanderbilt Commodores, but that just wasn't the case during this game. Regardless, Florida would still pull out the W, winning 31-17. After the so-so win against Vanderbilt, the Gators would jump up in the polls to the 2nd spot in the country and would be sitting at 6-0. Coming into week 8 of the college football season, everyone already knew what the biggest game of that weekend would be. It was easily going to be the 2nd-ranked Florida Gators versus 7th-ranked South Carolina Cox. The winner of this huge SEC matchup would be sitting pretty in the SEC East and would have a reasonable path to the BCS National Championship game as long as they could survive this Saturday. And to put a bow on how good this SEC matchup was, our good friends over at College Game Day would be visiting the Swamp for this battle between juggernauts.
Yes, sir.
Against the Gators, Gators won.
Yeah.
Then I picked the Hound Dog.
Big mistake.
And the Gators won.
Big mistake.
I know I went to Florida State and I'm stupid, but I ain't that stupid. Give me that Gator here.
Hey now. He's doing. What is he doing?
Tomahawk chop.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh no! Whoa!
Hey now, that's for real.
Hey, up and down the Gator.
What do you think, Ryan?
What the hell?
Off the front.
Go Gators! Go Gators! He won't bite.
Hey, big spur.
Blitz. Fumble. Purifoy. The ball is still loose. Picked up. No, not yet. Recovered finally. It was Luchez Purifoy. He's in the backfield. Here's Driscoll. Drills it. Touchdown.
Go lightly.
Yep. Here's Christie.
Good direction.
Sanders drifting back. Has it at the 30-yard line. And a fumble. Ball's out. Scramble. Who got it?
Florida.
Close. Got it. Quentin Dunbar loose. Demir Bird is the deep man. And a kick from Sturgis. Bird 2 yards into the end zone.
Players are going to have to adjust. It's on the field again.
Patton picked up. In. And now second down and goal. Play action. Driscoll deep in the end zone. Jordan. Reverse to Hines with Burton in front. Touchdown Gators. Given up by South Carolina until today. Driscoll. Play action. Fires. Caught.
Touchdown.
Jones. Got it. Touchdown Gators.
The Florida Gators would beat the brakes off the Cox, winning the big-time matchup 44-11. When I was rewatching this game, I was extremely shocked with all the turnovers from the Cox, especially the special team ones. I think we all know you can't win big games when you're turning the ball over as much as the Cox did, and a lot of their turnovers will result in Florida touchdowns. Get this insane stat line. The Florida Gators quarterback would throw for less than 100 yards, but would finish the game with 4 passing touchdowns. I've honestly never seen a stat line like that. Anyway, after the huge win, Florida would move to 7-0, but wouldn't have any time to really enjoy this win, as they would be playing in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party the following week versus the 10th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. The winner of this game would take control of the SEC East and would be pretty much a virtual lock to make it to Atlanta to most likely face the Crimson Tide. But none of that would matter if you lost in Jacksonville. Could Florida claim the SEC East with a huge win, or would the SEC East title be going back to Athens with the Bulldogs?
Gurley. Flag is down. Gurley's in the end zone. Let's see. High formation. Play action. Murray. Goes deep. Deflected. Intercepted. Picked off by Neron Ball, number 11. Florida brings 4. Murray pulls up underneath. Bobbled. Intercepted. 51 yards. Ooh, got it. Takes it. Fires it. Intercepted. Matt Elam has it. That's the 3rd interception by Murray. Thrown in the first half. I am not going to follow that up.
You can run it here. You got a timeout.
2nd and goal. Driscoll
Get rid of it.
Garrison Smith fires it. Intercepted by Bakari Rambo. And he's going to bring it back out.
Josh Evans right here is on his way in.
Here he comes. Murray comes near side. Caught. Malcolm Mitchell to the 20. Looks for a block. Got it. Touchdown, Georgia. Driscoll. Got it. Jordan Reed fumbles into the end zone. Wow, touchback.
Sadly, my Florida Gators would lose to the 10th ranked Georgia Bulldogs 17-9. This game was so similar to the LSU game Florida played in earlier this season, except this time around they would be on the losing end. The Gators honestly played so sloppy this game. Well, at least their offense did, as the defense only allowed 273 yards and forced 3 turnovers, and gave the Gators good field position a couple of times throughout the game. The offense just couldn't capitalize, as the Florida offense would turn the ball over 6 times. Overall, just a bad game for the Gators. The loss of the Bulldogs would bring Florida's record to 7-1 and their spot in the latest polls to the 7th spot. The Gators must have been going through the motions after this loss to the Dogs, maybe because deep down they knew there was a high possibility that Georgia would win the SEC East now, since the Dogs held the tiebreaker over them. And it would really show in their next 3 games, as against Missouri, Florida would win 14-7, 27-20 against Louisiana, and finally to end this stretch of the Gators going through the motions, they would win 23-0 against Jacksonville State. 10-1 and sitting at the 4th spot in the latest BCS rankings, Florida was sitting on the outside looking in. They would need a lot of chaos to happen if they wanted a shot at the Natty, but before we even talk about the hypotheticals Florida would have to take care of business against another 10-1 team, the 10th ranked Florida State Seminoles. If the Gators could win impressively against the Noles, maybe they could convince the BCS voters to give them a shot.
Here's a pitch to Gillisley, left side. He's close. He's in. The timeout. Manuel. End zone. Got him. Touchdown. Flag
throughout the first half.
Driscoll. He dropped the ball. Warner's got it. Moments ago. Play action. Manuel tucks it for the lead. Touchdown. 26 on the year. From 32 yards away. It's fake the end around and go straight up the middle of Gillisley. He's gone.
Settle for a field goal if you need to.
Hammond in motion. Driscoll rolls that way. Throws complete. Florida touchdown. Timeout. Florida can start to ice this thing. And Jones might ice it right here. Ball game. Touchdown. We blew some opportunities because we blew our cool. And I told my team, if I don't blow my cool, I expect you not to blow yours. Now, they're not going to blow their chance, but they might give up a touchdown on the last play. And they do.
Florida would come out on top of their in-state rival 37-26. Once again, I have to shout out the Florida defense, as they would force the Seminoles to commit 5 turnovers. After the huge win against their rival, Florida's record would move to 11-1, and this is the part of the entry where we get into the hypotheticals. So since Florida lost to Georgia earlier, they would obviously not be able to play in the SEC Championship game against the 2nd-ranked Crimson Tide because the Bulldogs held the tiebreaker over them. So long story short, that loss against the Dogs would have the Gators on the outside looking in, as they would finish 3rd in the BCS rankings behind Bama and Notre Dame. Hear me out. I feel like any other year, an 11-1 SEC team with 3 wins against top 10 opponents will be playing in the national championship game. I mean, is it really that too far-fetched? As the same thing literally happened the previous year when LSU faced Alabama in the national championship. Maybe if Notre Dame had to play in a conference championship game, they might have lost and we could have had an all-SEC natty for the 2nd year in a row. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be the case. And Florida would instead be spending bowl season playing against the 21st ranked 10-2 Louisville Cardinals in the All-State Sugar Bowl. I think we all know what happened in this matchup. If you don't, the Cardinals would dominate Florida and win 33-23. I don't know if the team was just going through the motions or what, but a loss is a loss, and Florida would end the season 11-2. All in all, this year was an amazing season from Florida, where if things just went a little more different, maybe Florida could have won the natty that year. But that's going to just about do it for this video. Make sure to comment any topics or teams you want me to cover below. I'm out.